Inspiring. My name's Peter, I'm an addict. No, it really is an honour and a privilege to be sat here sharing for you tonight, to be trusted to carry a message to the newcomer and still suffering, and remembering to keep it simple as well. I remember what my head was like when I came into the rooms. I didn't really understand much. I remember my first CA meeting. It's like they were all talking a foreign language. Didn't understand what was going on. I remember everyone looked at me when they held up newcomer key rings, but I didn't understand why. I didn't know I was the newcomer. There's so much going on in my head. I had a phone call from a friend today. He just congratulated me on being 5 years today, which I still find hard to take, really, because, I put in the action, I'll take the credit for that, but I can't take the credit for God's work, really. It's only by the grace of God and my will and my life over to God on a daily basis that I'm still sat here now and carrying the message to you. So, and he couldn't get his head around how he could sit in front of a room full of people and share my story, having known me all my life, so he gave me some good advice, bearing in mind he's still using. So he said, take 2 blue Valium. Yeah, all right. But I can see sense today. That would be the wrong thing to do. All I have to do today is just get down on my knees and just to pray for the fear to be removed. That's all I have to do, really. I'm just going to share in the general way what I used to be like, what happened, and what I'm like now. I wasn't one of these addicts who came into the room thinking drugs were my only problem. I always knew I was the problem, but I didn't know what it was. My mother made me aware of it ever since I was a young kid. My friends used to come into the house and they used to ask, what's wrong with your son? He doesn't talk. It's fine, he's just shy. So that's my problem, I was shy. I was quiet, but there's a lot going on in my head. I was a great thinker. I didn't think about anything great. I was just a great thinker. And I was thinking what they were thinking, and generally 9 times out of 10, they were thinking some bad stuff about me. So based on my thinking, I decided I didn't like that person. And that line of thinking didn't really change, really, until I came into the rooms and it was pointed out to me in my step forward that it's dishonest to think like that. And is it? Yeah, no, it's a revelation to me. But that's how my thinking was. So what I see I was doing now, I was picking up resentments before I could leave the house on my own. My mother gave me good guidance. She brought up 5 of us on her own. My sisters turned out okay. I was just the bad one in the bunch. I just couldn't do right for doing wrong, really. Everything she told me not to do, I did. Sit me down as a 5-year-old and ask me why I did the things I did, I would say I didn't know. Sit me down as a 38-year-old, I would still say I didn't know. Clueless. Selfishness and self-centeredness, that was the root of it all, acting out all these defects. I was just blind to it, and it's got me in a lot of trouble on the way. My school life was just one big struggle, which I didn't like. I was one of those kids on the outside looking in, wondering what the other kids knew about life that I didn't, watching them interact. I just found that hard to do. I sort of like gained popularity just by playing up, really. I didn't take school seriously. I did all my work, it all looked good, but asked me what it meant, I had no idea. Clueless, really. One of the first things I picked up was alcohol, and I just loved the effects produced by it. It gave me confidence, it helped me to interact with people, and I just loved what it did to me. And solvents, I picked them up when I was 13. I just loved those effects more because it would just take me into a blackout much quicker, really. And when I should have been doing my homework, I was out there glue sniffing in derelict houses and doing like all sorts of stuff like that. So that kind of worked for me. At 15, I was called in to see the careers advisor, and he asked me what I wanted to do when I left school, and kind of put it on me, really. I'd never really given it a thought. No idea. Not one single clue. Didn't give it a thought. My friend asked me the same question, what I wanted to do when I left school, and it was just to try real drugs, really. That's what I wanted to do real drugs. I wanted some more of what the solvents gave me, but I wanted it more. When it came to leaving school, and as a 16-year-old trying to make it out there on my own, I struggled. I was wishing I was back at school, because school seemed a lot easier. Out there on my own, it was much harder. And I did go for help with doctors and that, because I sank into a black period where I just couldn't see no way out of it, really. I saw a doctor who medicated me, but the medication didn't kind of work. So I came up with the bright idea, like, go on for as long as I can and then just take my own life. And I kind of like accepted that, really. That's what I would have to do. I've never liked life. I didn't like being around. It's always been a struggle, so I didn't really see the point of it. I didn't think about, I have to be here for my family, etc. Well, those things did plague me. But I'd get to the point where I would act out on a suicide attempt. Keeping it secret from my family and my friends, well, probably wouldn't allow me to tell them what was going on for me. But thankfully I failed each time. But it was from then on I kind of went on a self-destruct path, really, just picking up drink. And once I put down the drink, thinking it was bad for me, I picked up drugs. And I went from one drug to the other. And if I thought I had some control before, I lost all control once I picked up heroin. Because it really hit the spot for me. It just made me feel dead inside. It just stopped me from feeling anything. And I was only going to do it a little bit. I thought I was just going to do it a little bit, stop, and just get on with things. But 6 months into using that, I tried to stop and just found it hard, really. I started to withdraw from it, and I found if I took more, then I'd be all right. So I had a lot of time of putting the drugs down and going for an awful lot of cold turkeys, and there was a lot of pain there, but getting over the physical effects and being left with all my raw emotions just reminded me why I took the drug in the first place, and so I justified always picking up again. At 30, I was put into a psychiatric hospital for my own safety, really. I just had a bad week. It was a bad week. No, because first time in my life, I got over my pride to seek help for my drug problems. I always kept it quiet from my doctor. And so there was relief there. And the same week, I lost the front door due to a drug bust and got done for supplying Class A's. So I made up my mind I was going to kill myself, and then my mum knocked on the door and told me she had cancer, so I couldn't kill myself, and my head just exploded, really. I just lost the plot. I mean, just forgot everything, really, so I was put there for my own safety. And, yeah, I remember my first ward round in the place where they call you in front of, like, about 8 specialists with clipboards and that. My first ward round, and the doctor sat me down, as a psychiatrist sat me down, and he asked me what my problem was. And that I was glad to be there because I thought I was going to get help from these, the men of science, these professional men. I was glad to be there. And he asked me what my problem was. And that was a really important question for me because I had to get this one right. I mean, I've been trying to think of that one all my life. I had to get this one right. So it's a really important question. And I was just there just thinking. And just thinking, really. And just thinking. And until the room went black. And I remember, like, the psychiatrist called me back into the room, and I sort of like they came as a vision. I didn't know what happened. Kind of had some sort of blackout. Just couldn't put my finger on it. And so he just told me to leave the room, come back in 2 weeks. In the meantime, I was sort of like rooting around in the hospital library, and I found this book about fears and anxieties, and a lot of it made sense to me. And it sort of explained why I felt like I did. And the next ward round I was called into, I kind of went in there like ranting and raving, waving this book around, saying, I know what my problem is now. I must have looked like a right loon, really. Being convinced that they might let me out now. But they kept me in there for another three months. There was a lot more going on than I thought. So in the meantime, they just observed me. They got me off all the drugs I was on, and done a detox, and they put me on drugs they thought I should be on, and gave me a diagnosis of OCD. That was my problem. I had OCD. I just like to clean a lot, organise a lot, and have a lot of routine in my life. So I made it home to my flat, where I spent 2 weeks just holed up in the place, really just cleaning. So I had good reason to do it now. I just found it really hard to go out, and it was hard. It was a hard time, and I thought, if this is life, I can't imagine the rest of my life's going to be like this. So, just never little use up. I was some sort of control over it this time. So I went and schooled, and 6 years later, I was just back in front of the judge again, really, supplying Class A's, lost a few more front doors. In the meantime, turned my flat into a drug den, just run drugs around the streets, and that's kind of where it took me. And yeah, I was up for a trial, and it was 17 months before it went to trial, and all that time, I thought I'd come to the end of my life then, because like suicide was on me quite bad. I didn't feel strong enough to go to prison. I didn't see any point in going to prison because I didn't want to live anyway, so what was the point of it all? And I don't know how I stayed alive. Thankfully I did. And there the trial come, and luckily like the judge let me off. Well, not off, he gave me probation, a drug testing order and a tagging. And there was some relief there, but I wasn't off the hook because I still couldn't stop using. A drug testing order wasn't keeping me clean. I still couldn't stop. Trying all the way, trying to break my £10 measly bag into like 5 syringes, making it last over 5 days, like doing 1 syringe and not wanting to leave my bedroom, just keeping an eye on it until I'd done it all. But I still kept trying that one. And it took me to the point where I was just sticking blunt needles into my neck and just watching the blood run down, getting more pleasure out of that than I was the actual drug. I just hated the person I'd become. And I didn't know how to be any different because I tried all my life. And I just didn't know how to become any different. So I kind of just took to my bed and was just slowly dying from then on. You know, I was just slowly dying from then on. And it was in that time, a friend of mine from my youth came back to my town and he carried the message to me. I didn't know that's what he was doing. He was bounding these words off me, saying, I need a power in my life, I need to work in a program. I didn't understand any of it. I knew he was clean and sober. I didn't know how or quite understand what he was doing. And he gave me the opportunity to come down to Bournemouth. I didn't give him a straight answer. I needed time to think about it. It's crazy, really. It's a life or death situation, and I needed a couple of weeks to think about it. No, the reason being, I know what it was like when I put down drugs. It's just life got worse, and I didn't have any more fight in me. I didn't think I had any more fight in me. I was like just dead on the inside. I didn't feel as if I give anything to life now. There's just no fight there. But thankfully, I seriously didn't want to die. That was the truth of it. I didn't want to die, so I took that opportunity and I came down to Bournemouth. And he introduced me to the rooms. He introduced me to a few of these guys from this meeting on my second day here. I looked up with him, and it was Malcolm, and took me to my first meeting, the one I didn't understand. And he kept saying, you should get over to this home group here. I couldn't come over straight away because of my tagging, but in the meantime, I was going to other meetings. But that's all I was doing. I didn't get that vital, sponsor that everyone was telling me to get. I was too afraid someone might say no to me. Rejection all my life, I just couldn't handle it anymore. So yeah, there's a bit of fear there. And I was reminded when my tag came off by one of the guys to come along to this meeting, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did, because this really was the last port of call, because I did pick up in the meantime for not getting a sponsor. So this was the last port of call for me, because I didn't think this stuff was going to work for me. I really didn't. But what I liked here, it wasn't what any one person had. It was just what this meeting had as a whole, really. There's just all this structure and order here, all the stuff that I lost in my life somewhere. And it was good structure and order. It wasn't like mad stuff I was in. It was good stuff. And so I was attracted to that, and I got my sponsor here. And he asked me if I was willing to go to any lengths. And despite myself, I said yes. I'll tell you a time he reminded me of it, there was any lengths. It was my first trip back to Devon, and I was travelling back to Bournemouth for 8-9 hour bus journey, and I was really tired, hungry, I haven't eaten all day. And I made up my mind, I ain't coming to the meeting. I ain't going to come. And so I got on the bus to Boscombe, and it just pulled up into the traffic, slowed down, and I was just monged out, looking out the window, just staring into space, and I focused on a little smiley face looking at me from the car, and it was Rico, laughing. And I looked next to him, and it was like my sponsor waving his arms about and all that. And I'm not a reader of lit, so I think I have a good idea what he was saying. But I checked in the next day, and he just reminded me then, he didn't want to hear my rubbish. He just reminded me, when I got on board, I agreed to go to any lengths, and that just means getting here no matter what. I wasn't going to get well at home watching EastEnders resting my sorry little ass. So I had to be here. So the next trip home to Devon, I sat there in the back of my suitcase and went at the back of the hall, just a little tired and a little hungry. Sat on a big fat resentment, but you showed me how to deal with them. And he gave me a list of simple suggestions to go by. Read the big book, gratitude list, which I struggled with getting those 6 things. Be grateful to be clean and sober, be grateful to be alive, which I didn't feel grateful for. I hated all that stuff, but he said I learned to cultivate that gratitude, which I did. I cultivated that gratitude, and there's pages of gratitude today. Read the Just for Today card and try to implement the principles into my day. Just for today, I'll be happy. I can make up my mind to be, or just for today, I'll do at least 2 things I don't want to do. That gets me every day, doing the things I don't want to do, because I'm naturally a sloth. But I'll tell you a time when it really got me is that I was, a year or so ago, I was walking home from work, just way down with resentment. I already done a load of things I didn't want to do that day at work. And I just felt heavy, closed in. It was a grey day. I just wanted to get home, have some quiet time before I took my infantry. And on turning the corner by my house, there was a little old man on a Zimmer frame, and his trousers around his ankles. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I thought, I ain't getting involved in that. So in my selfishness, I crossed the road. And I went to walk on by, and got me just for today. I'll do at least 2 things I don't want to do, at least. So I had to do some more. So I went back, got down on my knees. And in my head, it didn't look good. I felt really self-centered. It really didn't look good. There's people walking by and everything. But I got his trousers out. And what was given to me? Now, what was given to me? Spiritual relief. That's what was given to me, some spiritual relief. I mean, in an instant, my life was put into perspective. My problems and my worries had nothing compared to that poor old man on the street. So I went to bed with a lot more gratitude that night. But it really awakened me to the importance of doing the things I didn't want to do. And doing selfless acts for that spiritual relief. And yeah, ring 2 newcomers to ask how they are, not talk about myself, and get myself a home group, check in with my sponsor, 6 o'clock in the evenings. I'll tell you the time he reminded me about that check-in time is when I phoned at 6:10. It just reminded me that I was taking my wheel back, that I was assuming it would be all right. And it reminded me that a lifetime based on my assumptions got me to where I was, so it was important that I checked in on time. So yeah, getting these things in place and praying as well, giving thanks and praying for a clean and sober day, and that's all the stuff I'd done. And 2 weeks of doing that stuff solidly, that's when I felt the benefits of it. That's when I realised I was just walking down Old Christ Church Road, and I suddenly realised I was just held my head up, really, just looking around, which I didn't do beforehand. I always held my head to the ground. I didn't feel worthy of looking at. It's painful looking at, because like someone catches my eye, and that was it. And I'll be doing their thinking. But no, I was just. I had my head held high, and I just felt peace inside. Something was working, something outside of me was working. It wasn't the stuff I could conjure up within myself. So it was this program, that's what it was. It wasn't the medication I was still on from my doctors that I'd always been on as a kid, because that never worked. That didn't even put a smile on my face, that stuff. But no, it was this stuff. So under my doctor's guidance, I come off all that medication, just kept to my suggestions, and I was here 7 months just doing those suggestions, and they held me. And I needed that 7 months before I started my work, just to crush my ideas, really, because I had some bright ideas when I come here, but one by one they were squashed. I was going to go back out that door if I stopped doing this stuff. I've seen all my friends go back out there. I've seen people die who went back out there. So I was no different. So I came into the rooms fresh. I got on with the stuff and I stayed. I never went back out for one last relapse, although my head wanted me to. But so glad I didn't listen to it. And yeah, I just have a better understanding of what makes me me now and what I have to do. And it's to work the steps on a daily basis best to my best advantage, really, because I will die if I stop doing it. I'm just trying to think, like, if I was new here tonight, just don't listen to your heads, because it'll feed you loads of lies. And if you're feeling in pain right now, get grateful for that pain, because it'll probably keep your ass here. And if you go out there on your own, you'll go out there and use and die. That's the basics. That's the truth of it all, really. Do this stuff and live a free and fantastic life. I've had my best 5 years. Hand on heart, it's been the best 5 years. I never thought I'd get to this point. I'm able to work today, pay my bills, all normal stuff that I really couldn't do before, and just live life on life terms. And it's not on my will. If I'm living life on my will, I think putting a rope on my neck's a good idea. So certainly not on my will, it's on God's will today. Guaranteed programme. That's it, I'll leave it there.
Thank you.